Back in 2009, when I was a wee lad of the age of 12, I was sitting there under the Christmas tree waiting to unwrap that big square box underneath it. It was the Xbox 360 Elite Edition with Forza Motorsport 3 and Halo 3 ODST. I was so incredibly excited that day. The only thing I remember doing the entire time was racing around Fujimi Kaido, trying to hit the fastest speed on the Le Mans Straight. And that's just something we did so much. And it really embedded something within me, especially with my love of Initial D, to the point where I had the actual Initial D DVDs throughout the entire fucking room. It was a perfect time for me. Fast forward to 2022, I received the opportunity to go work at Turn 10 Studios for the next generation of Forza Motorsport. I was incredibly excited. The trailer just came out and I was all in for it. Maple Valley looked so sick and I just immediately said yes. My focus was predominantly on the terrain, so essentially everything not on the track, but it wasn't the trees either, so rocks, mountains, vistas, all that stuff I would be in charge of. Immediately accepted again. One, because they paid me more money, which we all need to fucking live. And two, I wanted to give players the same excitement I had when I was a little kid. One of the things, there was a conversation about me turning full-time in the beginning, but they were adamant about something I've never really heard of any other studio mention, which I'm going to explain now because it's kind of a huge factor into everything, including most Microsoft studios. It's called the 18-6 rule, where if you were a contract in any of the main game studios, you're only allowed to work at that studio, or maybe even most Microsoft studios, for 18 months, and then you legally have to take 6 months away from the studio unless they offer you full-time with benefits and healthcare. This was put in place because Microsoft would only keep people on contract perpetually, never ending no matter what, and never even just bother giving them full-time at all, which sounds terrible, and it kind of is, but there's a whole other nuanced argument about it, and this new rule doesn't help at all, especially for other studios that we'll talk about near the end of the video. However, I was too excited. I just thought to myself, man, I'll just convince them to give me full-time before it's up. That's easy, right? Just convincing a multi-billion-dollar company to be like, hey, you need me to make this game work, right?
Initial D.
Once I was onboarded, I was tasked with making mountains and starting to understand the terrain workflow for a couple of iconic tracks. Mugello in Italy and Spa, I'm not even going to bother pronouncing that, in Belgium. I was learning some specific things, how they wanted it to look, how we really want to keep it as realistic and close to the track as possible, and both as close to real life as possible. Because even though this is a video game, we have to license all these and we have to represent the track perfectly. I was learning some specific things they wanted to do, how the engine kind of worked, some cool tricks, and everything was going well. I made a lot of materials, got the material blends to work really well, into the state where the art directors and even my lead at the time was like, wow, this looks good. You're not a shit artist. I'm very proud of you. I'm like, whoa! And I was hitting my stride. Everything was going well. And then something terrible happened. About a month and a half into the contract, I got a message from the other terrain artist who was teaching me and who's been there since Forza 7 and 6. He's an amazing guy, by the way. Very, very nice. And he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know my contract is up by next month and I will not be able to re-sign. I'm sorry. My heart sunk because on launch we were aiming for 20 tracks. And although there were other tracks that had it started, there was a couple little things in place. They weren't up to the standard to what we wanted to show to the players and have other people experience. So I had to basically learn the engine. I had to learn the workflow. I had to create the Vista workflow. I had to do so much shit while being the only terrain artist there. and it was terrifying. And even just small things like when you go to a different engine, simple things like importing an asset can be extremely different. It's so stupid. I was in a panic. I was scared. We were potentially going to hire new people soon. But I just had to sit back and do the thing we all hate, and I had to fucking crunch.
Initial D.
This section of time was a huge blur for me. My main focus was getting as much done as possible with the shortest amount of time. We hired 2 more artists, and another artist who originally was on the look dev team transferred over to help me. And all of them were amazing people and artists with whom the game would not look half as pretty without their help. If any of you are watching this, by the way, just know I love you and I hope you're doing well. And if you ever need anything, please let me know. I will fucking jump on a grenade for you. But we pushed extremely fucking hard. We created all the mountains on the Hakone map, created and constructed new ideas and workflows that I can't really talk about. Every mountain you see, every like cool vista, every landscape, we had to help create it. Because originally, if you look like at Forza 7, they were all cards. And with the 24-hour day and night cycle, that doesn't work. You can't really use cards. So everything has to be geo, so it all renders properly with ray tracing and all that good stuff. And you can really see those vistas and landscapes really expand on Maple Valley. Laguna Seca was improved. Hakone, again, Nürburgring as well. Like all the really detailed little landslides and stuff, we really pushed for that. It got to the point where we even rambled about the curvature of the earth for like 3 hours, and it was a full day just figuring out how big the textures need to be without it completely breaking the game, just in case someone saw it. And we, like, it had to be accurate. We were so hyper focused on that. It was really fun, and it was so interesting just to learn it. We even got cocky to points to where like Grand Oak originally didn't have them, but we threw them in right before a playtest, or not a playtest, but a review. And then he's like, "Oh, where'd you see those?" And I'm like, "We just put them in." And then he's like, "Oh, I love them," and that made us feel so good. Like we finally were able to push a bit more of the art direction. However, the one thing we always really needed to keep in mind is that this isn't Forza Horizon. This is Motorsport, where the cars have to be the heroes. So it was a lot of technical stuff just to figure out how we can make this thing look as pretty as possible without it dragging at a 60 frames, where everything ran smoothly in it. Because gameplay in a sim is the primary focus, despite it not being like Assetto Corsa levels of realism. It's still a motorsport sim. And plus, quite frankly, with the map designs and the maps chosen, we didn't really get a chance to go over the top, except for Hakone, Maple Valley, Grand Oak. But there were quite a few like Homestead, Mid-Ohio, Indianapolis, which were all extremely safe and flat. So it was mostly on other teams to really set trust everything else and make it crazy, because all we could do is make it flat. There's nothing we could do there. And we couldn't necessarily even make it dirtier or even get crazy in detail, simply because that's not how the tracks are. The tracks are so well kept 90% of the time. And also, why is Florida so flat? And there's so many racetracks in Florida. Like, I understand why you have to build it on a flat thing, but come on, give me a mountain. Give me something. Come on. And listen, y'all had no idea how annoying I was trying to push for drift maps. I really wanted to do a drift map so badly. My weeb ass was pushing so hard and like, come on, give me a drift map. Give me something, please. I want a deja vu around the corner. We have an 8.6 in the fucking game, please. But like with all productions, everything has to come to an end. And we set our launch for October of 2023. And we just had to accept it. It was 10/10. It wasn't always bad either. Much like every other game company and situation, you really grow closer to your coworkers, simply because there's this weird camaraderie around the project that you want it to succeed. You know it's going to be difficult, and you just want to make the best thing possible. And most of the other devs there were also stuck in the same cycle of having their lead or mentor leave like a month or even a couple months after they started the studios because of the same 18.6 situation. And most of those people are just amazing artists and anyone I'd go up to bat for in a heartbeat. Fast forward to around June of 2023, I received an email from the contractor company that really stun-locked me, and it said, hey, your contract is almost up, which startled me because I was like, I thought I was 18, but I ran in my lead and he's to let him know what's happening. So like, hey, maybe you should give me full-time. No, he just gave me the extra 6 months and extended it to 18. I was annoyed, but you know what? I still had a job. But obviously for those 6 months, it sits in the back of your head. I kept working. I was cleaning up maps, starting on newer maps and tracks down the line. Figuring out new workflows, finally getting a chance to do R&D, which is like research and development for ideas of how to make things work better, how to make it more efficiently without doing development at the exact same fucking time, which is a break. And then I started noticing on Twitter little pop-ups from marketing. Kailami, Hakone, Grand Oak, Nürburgring, Suzuka. These tracks we worked so hard on are finally getting shown to the world. It's like building up hype. It's like, yo, all these tracks are back. And it was exciting. Everyone reacting so positively to it and finally being able to talk about it, like, just made me feel alive again. Then September hit. I'm working on a future map and bloop, one more fucking message pop up telling me my contract's running out. Tell my lead, same thing. He can't do anything. My 18 months are up. So now I have two choices. Go 6 months without a job or just leave. No full time, nothing. All that work to launch, everyone, like all the higher ups, get bonuses so that way they can buy a second or third house, new cars, whatever the fuck. And I don't even get healthcare or jack shit. I get fucked in the ass without a courtesy of a reach around. And I was livid. I was so mad. So I threw it out on Twitter that, hey, my contract's ending. And luckily, I was very grateful. I have a new opportunity at the studio I'm at now, Cold Iron. I threw in my 2 weeks. That's basically all it had to do. I left a week before it launched. Luckily, I was able to see like the early pre-release stuff where it's like, oh, hey, if you got the deluxe edition, you get to play the game a week early. And it was really nice. Seeing people enjoy the maps come back, enjoying to see Le Mans in all its glory, seeing people redo the things I did as a kid on those tracks, on things I worked on. It made me feel better, but it was a lot more melancholic. I finished the track, and then I said goodbye. I feel bad, not necessarily for the system or for the higher ups and shit, but I feel bad for all the coworkers I'm leaving behind. That's an extra hand they don't have. That's so much knowledge and like niche things I found out in the engine gone simply because I had no time to write down documentation or whatever the fuck because of I had to finish a track. And it's like, it sucks. Losing artists and developers like that delays projects and even small things and reduces morale to such a standstill. And luckily this one, it had a timeline. I knew what was coming. But people that get laid off like don't get that at all, and teams don't get that at all. Like a 343 or Coalition, like those games and projects are often delayed or not even talked about just because of the system in place that Microsoft has. Hell, like it's just bad. All I can do now is tell my story of my experience at T10. I'm proud of all the work I did. I just don't feel much about it. Norch Live comes out this month. That was the last big track I was working on. So of course they gave the mountain guy the track with every fucking mountain in the world. It really made me think back of everything I did at T10 and working on Forza. And I hope one day we see more of those iconic tracks from Forza 3 and 4 come out. Just sad I won't be a part of it anymore. But there's this one thing that really stuck with me right before I left, is that someone was saying this is how Microsoft sees contract workers. When they have to turn in their taxes and show on their expenses that the company has to spend, if they don't have to give you healthcare or give you a full-time employee, we're the equivalent of a very expensive printer and nothing more than just a simple asset. Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching. We hit 400 subscribers since the last video. I'm sorry I missed last week. I really wanted to get my new little avatars and stuff going, and really wanted to make sure I tackled this as genuine as I could. So a couple things, couple of cool things. I want to live stream on here within the next week or two. It might replace the video 2 weeks from now. I might do it next week. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll keep you updated on all that good stuff because I want to use these guys more and more. And I got a lot of questions about how to do certain things in game dev, just art-wise. So that's what I want to do and help you out through that because I want to make a tutorial, but I really hate making tutorials because I find them really boring to edit and to do and all that good shit. Um, Thank you again for watching to the end. It really means the most. Subscribe, hit that like shit, whatever. Don't attack any of the other devs, please. I know there's this weird disconnect, and there always will be a disconnect between gamers and developers. But I want you to be aware that most of the time when decisions have to be made, they're decisions we don't like either. And sometimes and shit just happens. And yeah, I hope that's what you take away from this. And game development's really hard. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Bye.